Hey there, food fans. Welcome back to the Food for Thoughtcast with me, your host, Melissa Reagan, and my co-host with the most, Chef Steven Gonzalez. What's up, Steve?
Greetings.
Greeting
Greetings from Texas,
from Texas, from Tejas.
from Tejas.
What's happening, dude?
That's a very good question. To fully answer that, we must have about an hour-long session.
Libations.
Right.
Drinks. Adult beverages. Yes.
Water.
So,
Yeah,
what do you got?
perfect.
You got water? I got Mountain Dew, Baja Blast, zero.
Nice.
Just all the magic of going to Taco Bell without actually having to eat Taco Bell.
Right. How's it been?
It's been pretty great. Yeah, pretty much. Just been working, nothing new.
Yep. I know that feeling.
So,
Fun.
yes, indeed. That's seasons of life, isn't it?
It's
Sometimes
summertime
that's
and yeah, that's what you gotta
sometimes
do.
that's what's been happening. But hey, Steve, what was the most amazing thing you ate this week?
We did a little bit of some A5 Japanese Wagyu. And
Oh, yes.
yeah, I seared it about 45 seconds per side all the way around. Got some mushrooms, some caviar. I don't even remember what else I put with it. Oh, some pureed potatoes. Because you can't call them mashed potatoes. It's got to be pureed.
Three
People
more
get
dollars.
fancy. Yeah.
$3 more. It's in the name.
So, yep.
That was Memorial Day, right?
That was, yeah.
Yes.
It was lovely.
It looked really good. Where'd you get that caviar from?
From work.
What kind?
It was it's on the tip of my tongue. It was just like your basic caviar, nothing crazy. I was gonna go with salmon roll, but I was like, you can't spend all this money and just do salmon roll on top.
You're like, I put Masago on there just cause.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
We're balling on a budget.
I like it. Hey,
or were we?
There's different levels of balling on a budget.
Right.
Did you get a good deal on the A5?
Yeah, I'd say so.
What cut was it?
It was ribeye.
Nice. The best cut. Duh.
I was gonna do I'm not a big New York fan. They're good, but New York's not my thing. And then tenderloin was just astronomical. So I was like, well, let's just do ribeye. Because they didn't have my sirloin. Go figure.
You and the sirloin. Would you buy Wagyu sirloin?
Heck
yeah. I guess it's all the same level of crazy good, right?
Right. Especially if you're like not having to break the bank to get that quality. So instead of $150 a pound, you're spending maybe $100 a pound.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you got it for a little bit less than that. I was like being nosy, I was like zooming in on the pictures and the prices. How did you cook?
It was probably just like $60.
How'd you cook it, Steve?
Oh, just on my cast iron. Salt, and that was it.
No butter, no oil, no nothing.
No, just salt because it's all fat. Like I didn't even throw olive oil on there because I was like, it's just gonna sear and it's gonna be great.
Yeah, you probably didn't need anything. It has all that fat in it.
And plus my cast iron seasoned, so that's the best part.
Yes.
You just get it screaming hot and it works great.
I love it.
What about you?
Awesome. The most amazing meal I ate was not what I texted you on Memorial Day, but probably a couple days later, what I did with some leftovers. So I've been on a pot sticker kick. I don't know why, but in case anybody's out there laboring under the delusion that I've been making pot stickers by hand, I have not. I bought some frozen pork pot stickers. And I had made kind of a recipe from a viral video that's going around that was like coconut milk and red curry paste, soy. You can do like chili crisp, garlic, ginger, and all this. But at the end of the day, I try to add vegetables to a lot of things. And I added some vegetables and some bok choy just to bulk it up and make it go further. But I think all the vegetables kind of diluted the sauce. And I think it was kind of like weak to begin with. So I ended up eating pot stickers again the next day, super reducing all the sauce down, adding a crap load more garlic and ginger, and then really like caramelizing the bok choy instead, like the whites, and then you just letting the tops wilt. So it was kind of like a supercharged, and I wanted it spicier. So besides the curry, I added a chili crisp and chili flake. So made like a super spicy, nice fresh bok choy, and then pot stickers. And it was really, really good. So I ended up eating the same sauce with chicken and potatoes in it as even a third day. It was like the pot of sauce that never ended. So I got 4 different applications out of it. It was really, really good. Just out of 1 can of coconut milk, because honestly, unless you have something to thicken it with, like, it just makes a lot, especially for one person. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Sounds like it.
Super exciting. Probably tomorrow night, I'm going to do some kind of hamburger steaks, I guess, for lack of a better. I got a good deal on some patties. They were in really good shape. So I separated all these raw patties out from their Angus from the old Walmarts, and I separated them all raw into packages, like when I got home, to freeze them. And so you better stop it. See, Steve and I, for those of you who don't watch us on YouTube, Steve and I both had a long couple days, and now we're just having a yawning competition. Not Yanni, but yawning. So anyway, do the patties in the pan, nice pan sauce, a little butter, probably some mushrooms to go in there, to go on top, some caramelized onion bits and some nice caramely bits from the pan. And then I found 2 servings of the jalapeno cheddar scallop potatoes that I made in the freezer. So gonna do some hamburger steaks, some sauteed zucchini, and some leftover scallop potatoes.
Heck yeah. Sounds good.
Hell yeah. Steven, what did I send you a picture of earlier on this week, which I think that you were overly polite about, but you probably thought was weird? It was a baked potato.
Yeah, with
beans.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It was a very British pork and beans and cheddar in a fluffy baked potato.
A lovely, fluffy baked potato.
I think I'm here to tell you that I ate it like 4 times last week. I don't even care.
Did you cut them into fourths or something?
No, I made it 4 different times. Yes.
That's
like
funny.
could not get away from it. One time was pork and beans. One time was pintos. The other 2 were black beans that I stirred pico into, and I put queso fresco on top. The first 3 times were a russet, and then the last time was the sweet potato. So
nice.
Shoot. Carb, fiber, protein. What else do you need? Just saying.
Dessert.
Chocolate.
Sugar.
I recently found a 0 sugar version of pecan sandies, and I've been dipping them in Fairlife high protein milk every night as a dessert. Can't complain.
That sounds pretty good.
You can't complain. Like, what are you gonna do? So I don't know if it's better to eat 3 real cookies or 50 0 sugar ones, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Probably not the best. But you went mute. You must have something happened. I see your lips.
How about
moving.
now?
There we go. I see your lips moving, but I can't make anything out.
I was just saying it sounds like a recipe for disaster. And then I made a really weird face at you because it'd be a great segue in today's topic.
Yeah. What is today's topic?
Recipes. I had a technical difficulty and screwed up the segue, but there we are. Recipes. Did you see it? Did you see the latest Mission Impossible?
No.
Oh, you should see it. It's really good. Super good.
Not much of a movie person. I like going to the movies, don't get me wrong, but not Mission Impossible, not Tom Cruise movies. Because they're all predictable. He saves the day, he kills the bad guys, he gets the girl, and then the bad guy suddenly doesn't die in the last 5 seconds, and then there's a cliffhanger. It's always
sometimes it's just him hanging off a cliff, but there we are. Well, that's cool. That's fine. It'll be lonely. It'll be lonely next week on this podcast. But
wait, this is our last podcast. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
Oh, but anyway,
yeah. Food at the movies, so that's why I like the movies, and plus you can take a nap.
Yeah. Lovely. It's a very large air-conditioned room with hopefully a recliner, so it's good for napping. Recipes, Steven. Recipes. I want to tell you how long recipes have been around. You ready?
Tell me.
The earliest known written recipes date back to 1730 BC, ancient
Good.
Mesopotamia. Mm-hmm.
What did they write them out on?
Cuneiform tablets. Tablets. Chisel.
Huh.
Hey.
I would
Yep.
have hated that back in the day. Can you imagine how long it would take to write out a recipe on chiseling it out? That's just impossible.
So I want to know how often when you're cooking at home do you use a recipe?
Most of the time. Like, I mean, from time to time, to me it's a guideline, but
Is it
yeah.
only so how often do you strictly follow a recipe? Like you won't deviate? Is it only baking?
never.
Never. Even
Well,
with baking?
you know what? Even with baking, because even though baking is a science, I feel like I could add, like, if it's a savory bread, I always like to add a little bit of some garlic powder or some onion powder. Or if it's like a
Okay.
dessert, add a little extra sugar, add a little extra cinnamon, or some sort of spice.
Mm.
But I still don't follow it like verbatim,
Mm.
which is ironic
Heard.
because I have a recipe book.
You do have a cookbook.
Follow that verbatim.
So I don't use a recipe very often at home. And Steve and I were actually texting back and forth about this while we were deciding what this episode would be about. And it's interesting because a lot of people will ask, do you have a recipe for this? Do you have a recipe for that? Then I'll give you an example. Like when I decide I want to make pancakes, it depends on what I have in the house as to what kind of pancakes they are. It's not very often that I will, unless I'm gonna go very intentionally do my grocery shopping. It's not very often that I'll leave the house to cook something that I want. If I don't have what I want, I change course, or I'll order food. Right? Like if there's something very specific, it either goes on the shopping list, or I wait until the next shopping goes around, which I know sounds kind of like restrictive, but my time's worth money. So it's not very often that I'll be like, I got to cook something, I don't have this ingredient, and I run to go get it, unless it's some sort of exact science like baking, and I know that then I just end up not doing it until such a time when I get that ingredient. So when somebody says like, do you have a pancake recipe? My brain automatically goes 2 parts wet, 2 parts dry, 1 part egg, half part fat, like standard pancake ratio, right? And then I look in my cabinet and I'm like, well, I have rye flour, I have gluten-free flour, I have oat flour, and I have whole wheat flour. And then what do I have for eggs? I don't have eggs, so I've got applesauce, yogurt. You know what I mean? Like I start looking around. That's kind of how my brain works. But I want to know, like, when you were writing the cookbook, did you have all those recipes already, or did you develop them to write the cookbook?
A lot of them I had. A lot of them I've done but never wrote down. And I had a lot of recipe development. Like, for example, it was just little things like amounts. When I gave out a recipe to a friend, I accidentally put 1 tablespoon salt versus like 1 teaspoon. So
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. So it was a lot of back and forth of little things like that, like just making sure that you have the right measurements. That was a big one. And then a lot of other ones were things that I've I would have to tweak. Like, so I would give my recipes to people who couldn't cook, and it's not a knock on them. It's just like they would say, like, I don't cook to save my life. And when I would give them that stuff, a lot of them said this was really good. And so then I would ask, like, well, can we add something to it? Do you think it needs more of this, more of that?
Yeah.
And it was good dialogue. So it was a
Cool.
lot.
So kind of like crowdsource recipe testing. Like,
yeah, like, what do you like?
Huh.
And
I like it.
That's just kind of how it was,
Yeah. I have a lot of people ask me, like, do you have a good recipe for this? Do you have a good recipe for that?
I'm glad I did all that, because my brother tells me, even yesterday he texted me. Let me see if I can find the text. He was just texting me yesterday. So let's see. From the friends we went to go see in Nevada, Robert, we tried one of Steven's recipes for dinner tonight. Roasted pork belly, page 45. Delicious. Next adventure will be creamy mushrooms, page 176. Next time you communicate with him, a great big thank you, Joe and Sylvia. So it was like, it's awesome, you know?
Dude, that's amazing. When I think about the recipes that I use regularly, and I use that word loosely because usually it's throw together a meat, veg, and a starch thinking that really, sustains me from day to day. Because either A, I'm not home, or B, it's just me. So no reason to make like it's hard, like an entire crock pot, right? But when I think about the recipes that may be some type of, they won't be my legacy, but they'll be a continuation of somebody else's, the recipes that are regulars, right? Like I do have a spinach dip recipe that came of a bunch of trial and error plus, a combination of like, I worked at Houston's and it's kind of based on theirs, but it's a home amount that makes a Pyrex, right? Yeah. Or I think of something like my grandmother's carrot cake, which I think she, if I'm not mistaken, like jacked from a Good Housekeeping magazine or something, but it is the family carrot cake recipe, right? Or I think
nothing wrong with that.
I mean, and that's how things happen, right? Because the only thing it takes for a tradition to be a tradition is that we observe it. So it doesn't matter if your mom got a Betty Crocker meatloaf recipe and that became, and she tweaked the seasonings and it became mom's meatloaf, and then 20 years later, right? Like that, it's still just as special. But it's interesting. Like I think you and I have a very, very different approach, especially since you've written a cookbook, right? Like I like to think about the backstory or the experiences that go into a recipe. So it's wildly interesting to me because my day-to-day is very much like make a meat thing, put the veg thing with the meat thing, right? Like there's not a lot of intentionality there. So, right. Unless I go like, I'm in the mood for green chili chicken enchiladas. And then I go like, what do I need to make this? Well, I mean, I need like a Suiza sauce, right? Or I need like a sour cream. And then it just becomes formulas. Velouté plus sour cream plus green chilies, or bechamel plus green chilies, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Huh. It's like it's like two different approaches.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And ironically, if I don't have certain ingredients, I'm like you, well, let me use this. Oh, we don't have this. Well, let's use this. Oh, we don't have this. Let's use this. And I can remember there was a point like where I was dating this one girl many, many years ago, and we were cooking in the kitchen together. She was helping me out. And that's exactly what happened. Oh, we don't have this seasoning. Oh, well, let's use this. Oh, we don't have this. Let's use this. And she finally pulled me aside. She's like, Steven, I cannot cook with you because you are not following recipes. And I told her, but it's good though, isn't it? She goes, no, it's not good. I go, no. The food's good, isn't it? She goes, the food's phenomenal. But like, I'm just the way that you operate. Yeah, the way that you operate, like I can't cook like that. And I had to like just tell her, I mean, if we don't have it, we don't have it. I'm not going to go to this grocery store and drive, 20 or like drive 10 minutes, spend 45 minutes picking up one ingredient to come back, and it's not going to happen. We're just going to use what we have.
I think, when people think about like recipes, I think they're sometimes intimidated to treat them like a guideline, like you and I do, like a really loose framework, right? But I think it is so important to have some really tried and true swaps in your back pocket, just so you can make a pivot if you need to, right? Like if a recipe calls for blackberries and I have blueberries, done. If a recipe calls for peaches, I have apples, right? If a recipe calls for, and it could be really simple like that. It could be like slightly more complicated, like changing one cheese to another type of cheese, right?
Well, then yeah, exactly. Then you do get those one recipes or the ingredients where you can't just do one for another, but you have to use the best substitute that you have available.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think it comes a little bit from working in the business, right? Like maybe you got shorted an ingredient. Maybe a vendor gave you less of something that you were supposed to get. Maybe there was a substitution and you had to figure out how to make it work. It doesn't happen a ton at home. I think it probably happened a lot for people during COVID, right? When they were doing grocery delivery and pickup, where maybe things were limited quantity or the order was just wrong. And then they were like, oh, what do I do with this? Right?
Yeah.
What do I do with this?
It's all toilet paper. That's what everyone got shorted.
You cannot sub anything else for toilet paper. Just saying.
Not even paper towels.
Not even
Doesn't
paper.
work that way.
You can try. Your bum will be really, really upset. But I digress. Steven, is there a recipe that you would consider your signature item?
I've said it in the past, and I'll keep saying it. My Caesar dressing.
It's the Caesar dressing.
I always go back to that one because that's the one that I know I can make better than a lot of other people. And that's one where even though I haven't made it in years, if I was to go make it today, it would be badass, you know?
So walk me through how it came about. You don't have to share it, obviously, but just tell me how you came up with it. What inspired it? Yeah.
Actually, so that one was when I first started in restaurants at a wee age of 19 years old.
Oh, young little buck.
I know. I was scared as can be. I actually, that was one of the dressings, or that was one of the dishes on the menu. And, you know, you and I had only made it like table side, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I didn't know exactly like what it was supposed to be like. And the chef that trained me, he made it more of like a mayo, like just real thick, you know? And so he gave me a recipe and he said, this is what you need. And I followed it, but I learned that it was like, as you're making it, the process of making it, for example, like just letting that oil slowly drip so that way it can emulsify, makes a huge difference versus just throwing everything in together and then it separates or it doesn't ever bind, you know? It takes a little bit of love. It takes a lot of time in the sense of like, you want to taste it as you go. You want to make sure that you can taste every ingredient. So for example, you know, the anchovies, do you taste the garlic? Do you taste the acid? Do you taste like everything all together? And so finally it got to the point where the chef, before he left, he was like, hey man, like, I just want you to know, like, this is the best Caesar dressing I've ever had. Like, you make it better than me. And I wrote the recipe. And,
that's awesome. What a compliment.
And so it was a huge thing. And ever since then, like, that's just the one thing that I've always been like, you know what, that is pretty badass. And funny story is, so it calls for Dijon mustard, right?
Yeah.
Being 19, I didn't have any, so I got
use French's.
I almost used it because I was like, well, I need mustard. And he caught me. He's like, what the hell are you doing? So for about 2 weeks, my nickname was Frenchies. So,
oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
But it seems like that, you know, like you remember, you know, almost 20 years later. And I've even shown friends like how to make it and things like that to where they're like, dude, this is really good. Like, and it's simple, you know? So
nice.
Those are my stories. What about yours? What's like the one recipe that you're like, amazing. I make it better than everyone?
Golly, that's a tough one. I'm gonna have to like let it mull around in the old back brain there and come back to it.
Yeah,
and like, I think like also like chefs steal from each other. Like, why wouldn't you?
Oh, all the time.
Like, all the time. That's how you. Yeah, that's how you build. You know, your repertoire. In other words,
the chefs that aren't worth their shit are the ones that won't share their recipes. You know what I'm saying?
Like, yeah, or the people who just make it hard for other people to learn. Like, it was crappy for me, so it has to be crappy and hard for everybody else. No, it doesn't.
That's not the case.
It's called like paying it forward, dude.
Like, yeah, I learned at a younger age. Like, I have no respect for the people who are like, no, this is my recipe, you can't use it. Like, well, I don't want your awful recipe anyways. You know what? Just whatever. Your recipe sucks. Even though it's really good, it sucks.
I'm a really big fan of my bolognese, but it is probably an affront to Italians everywhere.
But if
it's fine though. Like, I like it, and it's really, really, really good.
Now, my question to you is, if this is like the recipe, would you put it up against Gordon Ramsay's bolognese?
But his is like really, it's so proper that it's not exciting. Like, I don't.
Like, I would put my Caesar dressing up against Gordon Ramsay's. I'd be like, let's throw down. We got this.
See, I'm going to say it out loud, and then this podcast is going to get rich and famous one day, and then I'm going to have to eat those words. Like,
he's going to be like, your Caesar dressing is so hot. It's shit.
I really make a good bolognese though. So
You know what I want to do?
what?
Squirrel. So
There's no telling. Please go ahead, Steve.
you know how I made lamb bacon? I
Mhm.
cured a bunch of lamb breasts. I want to
Mhm.
cook all that stuff off, and I want to save the fat and make a lamb grease, or like make a Caesar dressing, but instead of oil, maybe a little bit of oil
Use
and like
lamb
lamb
fat.
fat.
Ooh,
That would be super heavy and super gamey, but super
I was gonna
good.
say like, oh, that would be so weird. I think that
Why
only
not?
work. Well, it wouldn't be weird, but it would be different. I think
Yeah,
that like the only way that works is if you got to serve like the lamb bacon crunchies like
yeah, of course.
on the set. Oh man,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
it has to be salty enough, I
It's
think,
like
to
when
cut that.
people make like a tomato Caesar. You know what I'm saying? Like,
True.
granted, there's no tomatoes in Caesar dressing, but if you add like tomato powder, things like that, tomato bouillon, you have to have like a charred tomato with it for it to make sense. So yeah, the
Yeah.
lamb bacon would be in there.
Tomato
Totally.
bouillon makes me laugh as a phrase because I know it's just like tomate nor.
I mean,
It's
you're not
just
wrong there.
caldo powder.
You're not wrong. It's okay.
I'm like, yeah, let's call it tomato bouillon now.
You're not wrong at all.
That's okay. You got to do what you got to do. So my bolognese, I like to cheese grate the vegetables. See, like it's already gone way off the
Oh, that's
rails.
cool.
I make a paste out of the garlic. So I'll caramelize celery, onion, and carrot, and I make a paste out of the garlic. When everything's like super hard caramelized, I add that, um, a little bit of Vegemite, and a little bit of anchovy paste. Is all that umami, and just like let it sit in the pan and deglaze with red wine, and then half beef, half pork, and bacon goes in the meat. Like even better if you can get the bacon like ground into the beef.
I feel like if
And then
a lot of Italian people listening to this would be like, "What are you doing?"
what's going on here? We just got canceled in like all of our one Italian listener.
Right.
But yeah, it happens like that, and then I use beef broth or like basically beef stock and crushed San Marzanos, like hand crushed
Mhm.
out the can. But I don't leave the juice because it can be a little acidic, like it'd be a little tinny, like out of the can.
Gotcha.
So just the tomatoes, and then I let it reduce down a couple of times, add more beef stock as necessary, and then heavy cream.
Nice.
It's really good. It's really good. And all the little things that you put in there, it's just enough to make people go like, wow, this is so unique. I can't tell what that flavor like. It's nothing, it doesn't taste like, anchovy at the end, but you just need those like little umami hits.
Es
You know?
carne de burro. For those of you who don't speak
It's
Spanish,
donkey meat.
is that what I said?
Yeah. Yeah.
No one has to know. It'll be our little secret.
Nobody has to know, but yeah, I would put that up against most bolognese.
That's awesome.
Good. It's so good. So super duper tasty.
Stupid.
I like Caesar dressing too, but I really like mine to be garlic forward. I almost want it to be garlic mayo. Like I love anchovy and I need it in there, but I want it to be
Yeah, no, I
not
agree.
the main player. I want it to be a vampire killer Caesar salad.
But the thing though is, so you start with the little, you add enough garlic, because if you add too much garlic, then it just gets hot. Like not like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And then it just gets to be uncomfortable, because I've done that a handful of times where I
Yeah.
added too much garlic and I was like, okay, this is a bit much. How do we tone this down? And then you just have to make like an even bigger batch because you're adding more and more stuff to it.
Have
You
you
know what
ever
I'm saying?
have you ever done a salad dressing and used garlic confit instead of raw garlic?
I've done that a time or two, and it's good. It's really, really good. But in
Yeah.
my opinion, though, the only issue I have with that is that when you confit your garlic, it tones it down just a hair, in my opinion. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
But I think
So,
you can get back there with like granulated garlic, right? Like
oh yeah,
you can do both. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
yeah, or just garlic powder if you don't have the granulated kind. But
yeah. But I mean,
yeah, I like it.
yeah, I don't want to go kill vampires. I'm not gonna do it. My name's
My
not Buffy. I'm not a vampire slayer.
my Caesar salad will kill all the sparkly vampires. So Let me just piss off a couple of fandoms: the Caesar salad people and the Twilight people. But yeah, yeah. Or whatever weird Venn diagram it is of people who like garlicky Caesar dressing and are Team Edward. Like, what it would take your pick. But Steve, you want to know the 5 oldest recipes in the world?
Hold on, wait. Let me guess. I'm gonna put an educated guess here.
Okay.
Water, bread, cured meat, oatmeal cream pies, and hold on, wait.
Dr. Pepper.
Yes. How'd you know that's what I was gonna say?
I know you so well. No, you nut.
What's your recipe for water? Well, you get 2 cups of water, and there you go.
You get done. It's 2 H's and 1 O. Everybody knows that.
Okay, what are the oldest recipes?
All right, so the Mesopotamian stew recipe sourced from the Yale Culinary Tablets, 1730 BC.
Okay.
Lamb, onions, garlic, leeks, and barley.
Yum.
So yeah,
I
would mess with it. So the modern adaptation is lamb shoulder, olive oil, onions, garlic, leeks, coriander, cumin, barley flour, and water. So super thick, like mad roux, super thick. Maybe that's the only way, maybe, well, it does say lamb here, but I'm willing to bet that they didn't have a way to tenderize mutton, and maybe their understanding of like kind of the different stages and ages of lamb was maybe limited from a culinary perspective. That could be completely wrong, but that's what I think.
Yeah.
So maybe you needed all that. Also, nettle pudding. This is 6000 BC, the oldest known recipe from Britain. It sounds awful. No judgment. They had to eat what they had, but it sounds awful. This is basically a porridge. Okay. So 2 cups of young nettle leaves, handle with gloves because nettles sting, right? They have like little bristles, like little basically
it would be a good idea to go eat all that.
Yeah, right. But it's like a cactus, but soft and fuzzy, but it's an irritant to the skin. So when you blanch them, you can remove the sting. So this is 2 cups of young nettles, 1 cup of mixed wild greens. So they think that they use something like dandelion or sorrel, and a cup of barley flour, for the love, people, and a teaspoon of salt, water as needed. So essentially, you blanch the nettles in boiling water for 1 to 2 minutes to remove the sting, and then chop them. And then you mix the nettles, wild greens, flour, and salt into a thick batter. This is really interesting, Steve. You wrap it in leaves like cabbage or grape leaves, and you steam it for 30 minutes. So essentially, this is like a dumpling.
Huh.
That is wild. It's almost like a tamale, Steven. Let me see who else I can make mad real quick. You wrap it in a leaf and steam it. It says serve warm, optionally with honey or butter. What?
That sounds pretty damn good.
It doesn't sound like bad, but I'm just wondering, to what end are we mixing greens, barley flour, salt, and water into basically like masa, right? Like you're basically making it into like this stuffing, like stuffed cabbage. That's just weird. I don't know. Maybe, can you imagine the person who came up with it was probably like, guys, I'm onto something. Hear me out. All those nettles over there that make our skin itch. Yeah, I'm going to eat it. What? Like, No, hear me out, guys. Shut up, John. Like, yeah. John's not invited to our cookouts anymore. He wants to eat the nettles. Go over there. They probably stoned him to death or something. They were like, no, this is a terrible idea. And then there's like 2 dudes in the corner like, hey, actually, this isn't so bad. Like, shh, don't say that so loud. Right?
Right.
The bread. The bread of the pharaohs, 1500 BC. Literally made from what is known as emmer wheat and barley. I'm sensing a theme here. Emmer wheat is what we would know today as farro. So super tough husk on the outside, kind of a rice-shaped grain. 3 cups of wheat flour, salt, dry yeast, the modern adaptation, and warm water. Back then, they would have let it ferment. So it was basically early sourdough. They would have used the wild yeast from the air. But yeah, really simple. I don't know where you buy Emmer wheat flour, but it says you can use whole wheat. This is like reading an Ina Garden recipe. If you don't have the tears of a unicorn, you can use regular tears that you cry for being poor.
Right.
Thanks, Ina. The fourth one, Steve. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, what's another one?
Yeah, the fourth one, Chinese millet noodles. It's the oldest pasta, 2000 BC. In 2005, archaeologists unearthed a 4,000-year-old bowl of noodles at the, I'm not going to try to pronounce that because it'll end up being offensive, some archaeological site in China, making it the oldest known example of pasta. I can't believe the fact that we live in a time where somebody can find a 4,000-year-old bowl of noodles and tell that it was noodles is that's blowing my mind right now.
I can't believe it's not butter.
I can't believe it's noodles. During the Neolithic period, millet was one of the most widely cultivated grains in northern China. Unlike wheat or rice, it says it grows well in dry, arid climates, making it a staple grain for early Chinese civilizations. So the Chinese have been doing noodles forever. Literally water, salt, flour. So roll the dough into thin ropes, hand pull it into noodles, boil in salted water for 2 to 3 minutes, serve with a light soy-based broth or sesame sauce. That one kind of feels a little bit on the nose there, but okay. And then finally, 3000 BC, Sumerian beer, the oldest fermentation recipe. So literally, the primary source for Sumerian brewing knowledge comes from the hymn to Ninkasi, a poem dedicated to Ninkasi, the goddess of beer and brewing. This hymn was written in cuneiform on clay tablets. It also describes the brewing process in detail, making it one of the earliest recorded beverage recipes in history. They were using barley, malted grains, and water. They would leave it to ferment in clay vats under the sun. So it would make a really thick and cloudy, sour beer, like really different from the beer that we know today. But I think this is insanely interesting. So it's really cool. Did you know that the brewing industry in Sumeria was largely female dominated?
Really? That's pretty cool.
This is pretty cool. So to make it today, the modern adaptation has 2 pounds of barley malt or crushed barley, 1 loaf of unsweetened barley bread crumbled. So you're basically kind of making like your own mother, essentially, right, for this fermentation. A gallon of water, a half cup of honey, and a packet of brewer's yeast. So.
Interesting.
You literally let everything soak overnight. You add the honey and yeast. You let it ferment to 5 to 7 days, and then you strain and bottle it. It doesn't get any more easy than that. Like should I try this and then report back?
I think so.
I'm kind of scared. It could really, really wreck my shit.
Set yourself up for that one.
In a not good way. Hey, I'd like to call into work today. Why is that? Do you have a cold? No, I tried to make a Sumerian beer recipe from however much thousands BC, and it wrecked me from the inside out.
Right.
So, fun times. Steve, is there any of these recipes that you would try? The modern adaptation?
I'd say the first
one. Lamb? Yeah, the lamb, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm not understanding like why you need all the barley flour, but that's okay. It's okay. No different than anything else, right? Like you put flour in. If I was making lamb stew, I would probably put a roux in it of some kind, or a thickener, rather.
Yeah.
So, do you know the first American cookbook, Steve?
Get Your Grub On.
Get Your Grub On by Chef Stephen Gonzalez. It's the first my favorite American cookbook. But no, it was American Cookery in, I believe, 1796. Let's see what the Smithsonian has to say. Yep, 1796. Do it.
I am going to open up a cookbook, since we're talking cookbooks.
Oh.
Here's what I got in the mail.
What'd you get in the mail?
Damn it. So I can open it first.
Did you get something amazing? You're doing like a live unboxing right on this podcast?
I can't even open it, yeah. Oh my goodness. There we go.
Steven, do you need an adult or scissors or a knife?
Take a while.
Let me see. Yes.
There we go, buddy.
Yes.
Oh man, I'm excited about this one.
So for those of you who don't watch us on YouTube, Chef Steven is holding up a few of my favorite things by Vita Bybee, former guest of the Food for Thoughtcast. I reached out to Vita not too long ago. I let her know that her appearance on the pod got 4 people to buy her book, which I thought was really, really cool. 4 people. That's way amazing. And I let her know that I made the bubble and squeak.
I
So
told one of my people about it, and she immediately bought a book.
yeah,
She
not the
went
bubble and
straight
squeak. Sorry, the potato pancakes. All right, and
Oh.
sorry, my bad.
But I was gonna say, like, she immediately went because this person's a huge musical fan.
Yes,
So she was all like, "Oh yeah, no, I need to buy it." So she
I
bought
love it.
right then and there,
5 cookbooks, dude. That's amazing.
right?
Congrats, Vita. What do you think you're gonna cook first?
Oh, I don't even know yet. I'm excited. I think. Ooh, one last time, honey hoe cakes. Well, I can't do
Hey,
banana bread because my wife does not like bananas. Ooh,
divorce, instant divorce.
Hawaiian mac salad. Ooh, I like Hawaiian mac salad.
Mac salad.
You'll be back. British baked beans. Dang, everything looks so good.
Dude, I know. Okay, so
Tzatziki.
riddle me this. When you buy a cookbook, do you look at the pictures first?
Yes, totally.
Have you ever bought a cookbook just for the pictures?
Yes, totally.
Really?
Yeah.
What happens? Does it ever piss you off when you go to look up a recipe for something? Like, let's say, I'm going to be completely hypothetical here. Your wife asks you for devil's food cake and you need to make one from scratch. And you're like, we can't remember what makes it devil's food, or I don't have a specific recipe for this. Would it piss you off if you went and Googled a recipe and there was no photo of the finished product?
No.
No, never.
No.
You don't find it like irritating at all?
No.
Mm.
Because then it's open interpretation of how I want to finish it all, you know?
What if when you finish making a recipe, it doesn't look like the picture? Is that frustrating?
No. As long as it tastes good.
Is there some go ahead,
A
sorry.
little bit, but at the same time, you're like, no, it tastes good. That's all that matters.
Is there a recipe that you make more than any other? Like one that you've got memorized? Not a dish, but a recipe.
Not off the top of my head.
Mine, I jacked from a former boss of mine, a former employer. I didn't jack it from him. I told him I was going to keep using it. He's like, it's fine. It's just a formula. Mine is 2 cups of heavy cream, 5 eggs plus 2 cups ingredients makes quiche. Like that's
actually pretty good.
I've used that in more applications than I can even count. Like I've put biscuits on the top. I've made it with crescent roll dough. I've made it in a pie crust. I've made it in minis. I've made it in a tartlet pan. It is just like a really solid ratio and recipe that works. I've made ham and cheese. I've made broccoli. I've made anything. Like my favorite, Steven, the most luxurious is 2 cups cream, 5 eggs, 9-inch deep dish pie shell, can of crab meat, 2 cups Swiss. Bomb, dude. Garnished blistered cherry tomatoes on top.
Nice. Do you have a favorite cookbook?
So good. Yeah, it's the gosh, I'm gonna say it wrong, but I always do. Hold, please.
I'm sure it's Get Your Grub On.
No. It was so kind. Or a really thoughtful thing for somebody to do for me. But I worked at a retirement community for 4 years in Austin, Texas, and no shame in saying that because the senior adults in our population and every generation are underserved in that area, and they deserve to eat nice food as well. So all the haters can suck it. But it was a worthwhile career choice, and I learned a lot. But they were having a rummage sale, and somebody had a nearly perfect copy, one of the very first editions of The Joy of Cooking. And I was off, and one of the residents saw somebody putting it into a dumpster, and they got somebody to get in there and get it for me.
Oh, wow.
So
that's cool.
Somebody had just tossed it aside, and they were like, no, we knew you had to have this. Like, really, really sweet, thoughtful gesture. I didn't pay anything for it. But yeah, it's my favorite. And honestly, I haven't cooked anything out of it. I'm not going to lie. I've looked at it for inspiration. I've spent lots of time drinking coffee or tea, chilling on the couch, looking through it. Like, there's all sort of wild, outrageous recipes in there that nobody uses anymore. But there's a lot of standards in there too. There's, your Thermidor, like all those kind of classic things. But
That's cool.
yeah. But yeah, it's my favorite. Besides that one, it's probably my Mickey Mouse and Friends cookbook. It's like I got it for my aunt and uncle for my birthday when I was a kid.
Cool.
So it has some standards that I still use as well. Like sugar cookie. It's like the most dependable, faithful sugar cookie recipe that's super simple. That one, and there's a microwave custard in there that I've used several times.
Nice.
Yeah. Most of it's geared toward kids, but like, hey, you got to learn somewhere. So it's
It all
legit.
starts somewhere.
What I don't like is when people market recipes toward children that are just putting pre-made things together with other pre-made things. That irks me because you're not actually learning how to cook.
True. We do that from time to time.
It bugs me. Hey, I do that from time to time. I love throwing some turkey tenderloin, some pork tenderloin in the crock pot and throwing a stovetop on top of it with 8 ounces of sour cream. Like, I love doing that. But it's not calling that cooking. I'm feeding myself. It's fine. There's honor in that. But like,
to a certain extent, yeah.
Yeah. There's a recipe in this Disney cookbook that I laugh at. It's Huey, Dewey, and Louie ice cream waffle sandwiches. And it's like frozen waffle in toaster, put ice cream toppings in the middle. I'm like, that's a stretch. We're not cooking anything. Like, no.
It's baking. You're right. Let's be real. It's baking.
It's combining. It's just ice cream and waffles. It's combining.
So, I don't know. Yeah. I have a few cookbooks myself that I think are very artistic, like the Salvador Dali cookbook.
That's
awesome. I tried a few recipes out of that, and it just did not turn out at all the way I wanted. So I had to go back and redo them to make them good. And like one of them
what do you mean they didn't turn out like you wanted?
So like my frog cream recipe turned out more like a really broken custard than anything else. And it didn't make any sense to me when I made it. So I went back and did it my way with the same ingredients, and it came out like a million times better.
Huh.
I mean, the flavor was good, but like I said, the texture just sucked. And when I made it, like, it was smooth. It was rich. It was a cream. You know what I'm saying? There was a lamb pate or calf liver pate. I'm sorry. And I forgot what all I used for it, but like, I just made it my own, and then I bacon wrapped it and all sorts of stuff, because bacon makes everything better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's like another cookbook that I own, the Fat Duck Cookbook from Heston Blumenthal, who is a genius. Like, he is just a molecular gastronomy genius. And I can't make a single thing out of that book because, like, I'm not into molecular gastronomy, so I don't. But I also don't have all the equipment for it. Like, that book is insane. Those pictures are out of this world. I bought that.
That's like a prestige one where you're like, yeah, in my latest Blumenthal over here. Like, that's one you just want to have. I have a cookbook I didn't buy. My grandmother collected them, and I was privileged and blessed enough to pick out of a couple, like, after she passed away. And there's one that she had that's like Shaker cooking. So Shaker, very, very much closely related to Quaker, temperance movement, nonviolent, very.
I thought it was all about oats. Never mind.
So the Shakers also like devoted to abstinence, which is why most of them died out because nobody was like carrying on but I digress. So it's like a slowly collapsing population, but very rural, very, very simple recipes, but really some fun things. I won't say I was super bored, but yeah. Okay. I was bored one time during a snowstorm and I was trying to eat my way through the cabinets. This was Austin. I believe it was one of the worst snows they've had on record. Maybe 2021 compared, like when all of Texas had snow. But before that, I believe this was like 2007 or 2008. I hadn't been living down there for very long, but basically didn't go to work for a week. Like, that's how bad the snow was. And I lived on a 3rd floor apartment. So even just walking down the stairs to like go get anything and be able to drive was just not. So I pulled out this shaker cookbook and I made all sort of things from scratch over the course of a week, and it was really cool. But it's interesting to see like how they approach food, how they thought about it, and like I was making homemade saltine crackers and homemade quick bread and homemade
cool.
this and homemade that. But like, yeah. So shaker cooking is responsible for some of the most like beloved and kind of time tested, I guess, like kind of like proven recipes. So
that's cool.
Yeah. Super old recipes, lots of pies, lots of desserts, kind of like lots of church things you would take to church.
So they didn't die out because they were abstinent. They died out from the beaties.
No.
There's a lot of sweets and pies. You get them diabetes.
So I think if I'm looking at it correctly, because I'll walk out of frame to go over to my shelf, but it was written in 1952, I think.
That's pretty cool though.
But yeah, lots of really cool like fruit pies, lots of canning advice in there, lots of older, ways of preserving food and everything. So that's one that I really, really enjoy a lot. But those types of recipes aren't the ones that you can really update and make your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I could make, if somebody said, I want a more vinaigrette Caesar, I could go do it, because I have a ratio in my head that's, vinaigrette is 3 parts oil to 1 part, whatever you'd like. If somebody said, I want granola and I want X flavor of granola, I would be like, okay, granola is 6 parts dry to 1 part wet. Like, I have a little bit of ratios and formula in here. And if somebody said, I need a recipe for chocolate chip cookies, I would be like, go get the Toll House bag. I need a recipe for cornbread. Go get the Aunt Jemima cornbread bag. The cornmeal bag. Go get the cornmeal can. There's a recipe on the back. And then if you want cream corn, put cream corn in it. If you want jalapenos, fuck it up. Those are recipes that don't live in my head, but I do have ratios. I have foundational ratios and formulas where I can pick and choose. If somebody said I want a chocolate cake, I'd be like, okay, like I do have a vanilla cake in my head. Somebody said they want a pound cake. I kind of have it. The leaveners is where it gets a little bit crazy. So
yeah.
Can you rattle off? Is there a recipe you can rattle off to somebody if they want something specific? Is there one that lives in your head all the time?
Not really. I mean, I kind of like the idea of just being a Renaissance man, knowing a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Is there ever a time where somebody asks you for a recipe and you just make that crap up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've done that a couple times.
It's so great.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember doing that once or twice.
Dude, all the time. All the time. How often do you produce the same meal twice at home? Yeah. I know. I'm not the only one. Now, if somebody said, tomorrow night I want lasagna, I'd be like, cool, I'm in. It's half beef, half pork, tomato, ricotta, eggs, parm, tomato, like noodles. But sometimes I want spinach in mine. Sometimes I want whole wheat lasagna. Sometimes I want sausage in mine instead of beef. Sometimes, but I get a general framework, got the bones of the recipe, right? So
I just kind of wing it all the time. That's how I drive.
Sometimes in the past, somebody would be like, you should make that one salad. I'm like, yeah, I made that 15 minutes before you got here with crap I had in the fridge. Like, there's no going back. It's not going to happen again. That combination of ingredients is never going to be in the house again. I hope you enjoyed it. Do your memories taste delicious? Because
I think the best bread pudding I ever made was when I was a little inebriated, and I have yet to recreate that. I've tried. Can't do it.
Didn't you try to recreate it one time and it came out dry? That same bread pudding?
Probably.
I think it was like a white chocolate situation.
Yeah, I mean, I adapted it and then it ended up in the cookbook.
Nice.
But still.
See, now it lives on forever. Steve, is there a recipe that you're in the works of developing right now? Something for the future, for future use?
Lamb bacon. I'm kidding. I don't know. That's a good question. I have to go back to the drawing board and figure out something.
I should write down recipes. You know what? You've inspired me. I'm going to write them down. Who I'll leave them to No idea. But
Same. I'll leave it to all you boys and girls listening out there.
hey, all the people out in food fans land. Well, hey, Steve, I gotta go. What are you cooking this week, Steve?
Not a clue. I have work, but this weekend we will be in Amarillo.
Hey.
I guess they're having a bunch of festivals and car shows and stuff like that. So we're gonna go check
That's
it out.
fun. How far?
Go eat at the Big Texan. It's
You are?
Yeah.
Are you doing the steak?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I can eat like a 6-pound steak or whatever it is.
You guys can split it.
Yeah, but I could probably eat a lot of that steak, but it's like
There's a lot. It's a lot of gristle.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
So we probably won't do that, but we'll go eat there for sure.
Take pictures. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a car show, cattle drive, festival, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to go check it out.
Nice.
What about you? What are you going to be cooking this week?
So I've got those jalapeno scallop potatoes, essentially. It's a little hamburger steak, some sauteed zucchini. And then later on in the week, I'm probably going to do some stir-fried veggies in like a ginger teriyaki. I'm just kind of like using up what's left. Friday's grocery shop day. So the stir-fried veggies and ginger teriyaki. And I do have 2 cracked pepper turkey tenderloins in the freezer. So there might be some like turkey tenderloins, kind of adobo, black beans and rice situation, or like turkey tenderloin in the crock pot till it shreds up and maybe on bread for sandwiches. I'm not sure.
Sweet.
So, I haven't figured it out yet, but super excited about it. I want to play around a little.
Nice.
So you know what I'm going to have to go. See, I said like my peeve is like when you start a recipe and realize there's something you want. I'm not even going to go to the store though. I'm going to Instacart it. If I make shredded up cracked pepper turkey tenderloins in the crock pot, there's no way that there's not going to be like cranberry sauce on that sandwich somewhere. And I don't have any.
Yeah.
So I'm Instacart, yes, all the way. So, all right, homie.
Thanks for listening.
I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.